great look at that three by a great shooter. And now Buffalo, Reggie says, slow it down a little bit. Let's run a little clock. Let's make Pittsburgh play a little bit more defense. And that's what you have to do.
Aaron Gray with 11 to lead the scoring for Pitt. Behe and Moore have 11 for the Bulls. Moore has the ball. Shot clock at 5. We're in the final 2.5 minutes. Foul and a basket right at the buzzer. How about that? Great job by Robinson. He gets the basket, and he'll have a chance for a three-point play. They are on their feet. Panthers in trouble here in the first half at Buffalo. It's 38-31. Nice drive, nice score, and one is coming. It's the Bulls by 7 over Pitt. Let's check out our Big East leaders. It's brought to you by Hyundai. And, of course, you talk about rebound leaders. You would expect Aaron Gray to be the head of the pack, wouldn't you?
Yes, you would. And how about the guy that's in second? You loved him last year as a freshman, Jeff Adrian. And Jeff McDermott, I think, is ready to come into his own at Providence as well.
And those Bulls of USF are playing pretty well so far this year.
Well, they are, and this is a big year for them. They basically want to be a team that gains some respect in the Big East and make it to Madison Square Garden for the tournament.
Well, that is the goal, of course, because not 4 of those teams are not going to make it to New York. So that's the problem. You don't want to be at the bottom of the pile.
No, you don't. That's that leads for a very, very short career as a coach. 1 year, maybe 2 years, you're probably looking for another job.
That's probably right. And 4 of 4 at the line for the Bulls. They have not missed a free throw.
Now Buffalo can get it above 10. They're sort of showing zone, but they're not really playing zone. Watch what happens when the cutter goes through. They'll go with them man to man.
Aaron Gray comes outside with Kendall. Now driving, a runner by Fields is good. He bangs it home.
Boy, is he good shooting that ball off the drive way up off the glass. I mean, he learned that in the playgrounds back in New York. There's no doubt about it.
Well, and you talked about him being the kind of guy, and he's done it here in the first half.
Yes.
When the Panthers needed something, he stepped up.
He makes big shots.
Behe from outside, that's a 3.
Speaking of big shots,
he's got 14 first half points.
What a confident kid he is, huh? Buffalo's once again extending that defense, really putting the pressure on Pitt.
Gray's turnaround rattles in and out. Put back by Kendall. That won't go. That was a lid on it at that end.
Yes. This is where you got to be patient, Buffalo.
They've had 3 different 11-point leads and a chance to get another one right here if they can get 2.
You know, it looks like when Behe hands off on that dribble handoff, he's open. That was in and out. He's open for possibly a pass back after he hands off.
Now that time the three-pointer did not work. Behe back to the defensive end. Fields will march it up. We're in the final minute. A first half that's been dominated by the Bulls. There's a drive and a basket. Antonio Graves has 7 points, the senior from Mansfield, Ohio. 7-point difference as we head toward halftime.
Good use of a timeout.
You have to use it or lose it, and that's what they decided to do.
And you know what? You got to use it. You got 33 seconds left. There's 31 on the shot clock. So you run this thing down. You get a last shot. You know what? If you get a 3 here, you go in by 10 up at halftime.
Well, the three-pointer has been very good for Buffalo. They are 4 for 10 shooting the threes, and they've had some big ones. Eric Moore has 3 of them, and that one is number 4 by Behe.
And you know, 4 for 10, 40% from the 3-point line is the same as 60% from the 2-point line. So anytime you're shooting above 33, it's to your advantage.
Today's game is produced and distributed by ESPN Regional Television. The other part of the story here, we hardly expected this. The Bulls have turned it over one time.
One time, and that's, I mean, that's phenomenal in of itself, but against Pittsburgh, I mean, that just doesn't happen very often.
And that was at the 11:08 mark, so they have played good and strong. You said they needed to take care of the basketball, and Eric Moore has done that. Plus, he shot it very well, making 3 3-pointers, and they're going to use up all the clock they can. Little rotation out in front.
They create some nice mismatches with those dribble handoffs, and look for them to maybe post up the guy that hands off, especially the big guys.
No bonus either. Neither team in foul trouble. It's been a quick first half. There's the 3. Bending no good, and their rebound by Kendall. Shot clock is about to go. Ramon flings it down the court. Well, we have played the first 20 minutes of basketball. And it is the first time that the Panthers have been in trouble at halftime. They are down 7. A very well-played first half by the Bulls of the University at Buffalo. Now, the Panthers trailing, Mike, by their biggest deficit so far this year. Well, what are they going to talk about at halftime?
What's the Panthers going to talk about, or what Pitt's going to talk about? I think the Panthers, basically, the Bulls are going to just say, hey, look, guys, let's just try to play another half, 20 more minutes, taking care of the basketball. If you're Pitt, you got to keep getting the ball into Mr. Gray.
We're at halftime. We'll start our halftime activities from Alumni Arena right after this. 42-35 is the score. We welcome you back to Alumni Arena along with Mike Jarvis. I'm John Sanders, and would you believe it, in a college basketball game we had a little discrepancy in the stats at halftime. They had one guy who made a free throw. They didn't give it to him. They gave it to another guy who didn't have a free throw, but we think the score is right. It's a 7-point difference, and it's been a good half for the Bulls.
It has been a great half for the Bulls. Anytime you get 14 assists to 1 turnover, you're supposed to be winning, even if it's against the number 2 team in the country.
Well, they are winning. Let's check out some of the highlights from the opening 20 minutes here, and it's been a good 20 minutes, as we say, for the Bulls. They've been especially good in shooting the long shots.
Well, you know what happens when you make them early, then it gives you a lot of confidence, and Mr. Moore was making them early, and he was making them often, and that really helps, and they've been going to the right guys for the 3-point shot tonight. There's another one. I mean, he's really feeling it tonight.
And they were getting him the basketball, and even the big man coming outside. He had a great first half with 14 points, moving closer to number 11 all-time in scoring. Statistically, Pittsburgh's shooting is not bad. Buffalo's is better. 3-point wise, just one different, but look at that turnover situation.
Well, the turnovers, I mean, neither team has done, I mean, both teams have done a great job with the ball. It's just that Buffalo has done an even better job. 1 turnover.
That's how it looked, highlight and stat-wise. We've got another 20 minutes to play. Can number 2 Pitt come back? We're going to find out when we come back. 42-35 at halftime. The Bulls in front, and this is a position the Panthers have not been in so far this year.
This game reminds me of a first-round game in the NCAA tournament, 15 seed versus 2 seed. Everybody in the arena rooting for the 15 seed. This is a great test for Pittsburgh.
First time they've been behind at halftime, and we were concerned about the poor shooting of Reggie's team, but that has not been a factor. They've shot it very well so far.
Well, they must have thought he was Reggie, the guy who used to play for Indiana. And I'll tell you what, they're shooting the ball really well, and I think it's because the right guys are shooting the ball today.
Panthers had a lead just once. They were up 2-0. He is outside. He brought Kendall with him.
That dribble handoff action is really giving Pittsburgh a little bit of problem.
And that's that short shot they've gotten as a result. The second field goal for Greg Gamble. So Gamble stretches the lead to 9.
You know what happens in games like this, John, is that teams, the opposing teams that Pittsburgh will play in the future, they'll take a couple of cues from what Buffalo's doing tonight. So look for a few more teams to maybe run some of that same action.
Cook will shoot 2. It's the second foul on Andy Robinson. Robinson, a great defensive player,
yes,
as you mentioned, came in with 19 steals.
Well, you know what? Most of the time, the great defensive players